everyone, welcome back to another, well, I can't even say another, this is the start of something anew. It's an idea I've been mulling around with for I think the last few days, so not long at all, but I thought it could be a fun challenge to do, a fun warm-up to do for my dailies, as I've been doing a lot more Pixelart daily, especially warm-up Pixelart, and I thought this could be a fun warm-up challenge to attempt to do. And as you can see here, and now I don't know the name exactly yet of what we'll be calling it, but I have created a color palette called Bit of Colors, and we'll be using it to complete a Pixelart challenge. And if I slide this guy over, what I've been seeing a lot of recently, what I've been enjoying a lot of doing, is I've been having a lot of fun with the 1-bit color palettes, or the 2-bits, or the color palettes that have a lot of few colors in them. I know. Very few colors in them, from either 5 or 4. So I thought, you know what? Let's crank it up. And I remembered also a game called Baba Is You. Maybe I'll put it up somewhere here on the screen that you can see, where it's one specific color for an object, or just very few colors in general. I thought that would be a fun idea to do. So I went online, looked up a little spec, found the original Baba Is You color palette, and then I tweaked it a little bit. And now we have a total of 12 colors. The Baba Is You one, I believe, has around 40 something in it. This one only has 12, so it's super duper limited. And I thought it could be a fun challenge to make a fantasy world based around a certain type of, or certain amount of characters, and go from there. Hopefully you'll pick up what I'm putting down as we go along. With that said, let's go ahead and get started before I get distracted. I present to you the rules. Here we have an idea of what I think could be a fun challenge to do. I didn't want to make it too intensive and leave option for openness or variety of whatever you think could be a lot of fun to do. The idea is that it's kind of like I guess I've seen them done, at least when it comes to work, but a bit of a mini sprint, so not a whole 30-day challenge. I'm thinking a 10-day challenge or a 10 sprite challenge. You have to do, and you don't have to do this, is optional, but this is what I'll be doing. You do a set of 10 sprites. You can even make it a smaller amount, like maybe 3 sprites with a theme. It doesn't really matter too much, just as long as you find something that works for you and that you can stick with. In my case, we'll be doing 10 sprites with a theme. This time around, the theme's going to be characters, RPG characters, as I want to make a fantasy world with this color palette. And we'll be using 1 color per sprite. As in, for example, if I grab my little pen here, if we were to make a little skeleton, the skeleton would not have a little skeleton body here, and then he would have a brown bow. No, we would have to, for the skeleton, choose either the brown color or the white color. We have the background, but it's 1 bit while still having multiple colors. That's the idea here. So whatever is in your block, it has to be that 1 color of. And next up here, we have a set time. Whether you want to make this super duper intensive and only set it to 5 minutes, or you don't want to do too much, you want to set it to 2 hours even, what I'll be doing is I'll be having a 30-minute timer on. That way I don't spend too much time on the sprites, but I do have a little bit of wiggle room. When we do our draw together, so our monthly challenges of Pixelart, it's usually 20 minutes. I'm also usually streaming, well, not usually, it's usually 20 minutes, and I stream during that time, so I tend to get a little bit distracted. And I've noticed I've had a fun time doing 30-minute challenges or 30-minute timers. It helps me stay aware. And when I can show you as an example of, if I can find it here, found it. You can see here, this was an image I made the other day as a warm-up. For about 30 minutes, it was a 30-minute mini timer of drawing the main character of my game, who's a necromancer. So I had a lot of fun with just 2 colors. So I thought, you know what? Let's make this bigger. This canvas is about 80 by 100, and I say bigger, but let's do more of this. That's what I realized. I had a lot of fun doing this, so then I thought, okay, you know what? Let's do more of it. Let me close this guy here. So with that said, 30 minutes will be in the clock, 1 color per sprite, 10 sprites with a theme, and either doing tile sprites with 16 by 16 or 32 by 32. What I'm thinking is we could do a little bit of a mixture. Maybe our characters are 16 by 16, but maybe our big objects are 32 by 32. So for example, maybe if we were to do a big dragon here, it would make sense because then we'd have a little small sprite that has the dragon size. So I'm thinking maybe that's the way we can do it. If it's a super duper big tree, then we'd be able to get away with this amount of sprite size, because then the character would be super tiny in comparison. So you know what? Yeah, we'll go with that. I think that, I'm thinking it on the spot here, we'll do 16 by 16 for characters, and if it's supposed to be a big sprite in relation to the characters, we'll do 32 by 32. I think 16 by 16 is a fun place to start off. It also gives us a way to warm up to things. So granted, this is going to be tricky because of how small it is. But that said, now we're going to need a class and a race for our characters to draw. So if I go ahead and enable this guy here and enable this guy, you should see a spin a wheel. And the help is that there are 10 classes here, and also we also have 10 races here. So we're going to do 2 wheel spins of race and class and see where that takes us. So why don't we go ahead and start off with our class. What class shall we be doing first? We'll be doing the class of Ranger. Okay, Ranger's just Archer. You can do whatever ideas you want of the thing, or you can add more or less, or interpret it however you want, but we'll be doing a Ranger. So I'll go ahead and add that on the mind, and it'll be a Ranger. Let's see here. It's going to be a Tiefling Ranger. Okay, I can dig that. All right, Tiefling Ranger in that case. Let me go grab some references. I won't spend too long gathering them, but after that, we'll start the 30-minute timer. Okay, something I realized before we get started is that we're gonna need a personality. So I looked online, grabbed 10 personalities that I thought could be fun to draw the archetypes of. So we're gonna have a race, a class, and then a personality. Let's go ahead and spin that wheel now to see what we get. So we have a Tiefling Ranger who's going to be... Okay, are you ready now? The timer is now... Hold on. Set! 30 minutes on the clock now. Okay, so to begin, I'm thinking we either see about the 16x16 or 32x32, but I'm quite curious. Let's try to start off with the 16x16 and see how well we fare there. Now, as for color, what we want to go with, I'm thinking we either go brown for Ranger or green. I think we have a druid up, so definitely either these 2 colors I think would be a fun idea to do. So I'll add this color here. We'll do that guy there. Ranger. Okay, and we also need to make them edgy. So you know what? Maybe we could go for even a gray color if we want to do edgy Ranger. So either a gray, a brown, or a green. Okay, well, we have our colors down. Next up is, what are the features we really want to highlight when it comes to our Ranger? I'm thinking horns are going to be super duper important because they are a tiefling, and I quite like how the hunter wizard has horns here. I think that could be a fun idea to do. So it's gonna just depend on what direction we want to go, and we don't have a lot of time, so we're gonna need to get started. And this is why I'm thinking having a bigger sprite could be a fun idea to do, because I don't get to do them often, and I want to get better at doing bigger sprites without having to worry too much. We could do an antler horn like this, or rather, not an antler horn. We're not trying to go hunter wizard. Let me zoom out a little bit here. I also have Artemis, who also has horns, so you know what? Funny enough, quite fitting depending on how we do this. Okay, so I'm thinking either something like this with the horns, or I've actually, not funny enough, I've never done a sprite challenge like this before. I can see this as being our horns, and then the extra as the hair, so we'll see. We have time to decide, and we also have time to iterate a lot, so depending on these iterations is what we'll go with. We have to keep in mind that we can only have 1 sprite, or 1 color, so depending on the ideas we go for our characters here, it's gonna be a little bit tricky, but that's the fun of it. I know I want to have our character have a cloak, I want them to have horns, and I want to see their tail. And we're also going to need to see the bow, but they're supposed to be edgy. So maybe, you know what, how about this? We can give them a cloak. You can't see their face. Maybe we can do something like this instead, where there's a little bit of a cloak going on here around their face. Maybe we could do something like this here. And you know what? Okay, yeah. I think having a 32x32 would make it a lot more fun. So you know what? 32x32 for our sprites here. I think that's a fair trade-off. So we're gonna go ahead and make them a little bit bigger, because I think we can add more detail. Granted, removing detail, adding detail definitely depends on the sprite, but I think for our purposes, 32x32 will allow us to get a little bit fancy and have a little bit more fun with this. So I think, yeah, we'll do it bigger. Now, I wanted to have a little hood for our ranger. They're supposed to be a ranger or an archer. They're all going to face this way, in that direction. So we're gonna need to have some sort of bare bones groundwork to figure out what we want, and we need to make sure they stay edgy. So edgy ranger, we need to have the bow, we need to have and I'll also write this, or you know what, we won't write it down, never mind, I take it back. We need to have the bow, we need to have the horns, the tail, and the hood. Those are the very important ones, and let me paste that there, and let me grab this guy here. So, let's see. Usually when it comes to 1-bit, I try to do my iterations by carving things, placing things. The fun part about 1-bit is that you can add a little bit of spacing, and that immediately comes something else in the sprite, which I think is cool too. So let's see. Let's start off by maybe adding their face here, about here for their cloak. I'll go ahead and grab that guy, erase that guy here. And let's go for more of a sort of cloaky look. I don't think seeing their face is a good idea. So we're gonna go for very little of the face shown. I'm thinking, let's just do something like this here, where you can't see a lot of the face, or you know what? How cool is that? Okay, that's the bottom of the face here. This is the cloak part. Maybe we can add, let's see. We're gonna need a bow. So maybe this is the bow here. This is the bow outwards. This is the bow a little bit stretched here. Something like that, I'm thinking. A little stretched bow here. Maybe about there and there and there. And then we can have the bow here. And they're holding the bow like a little... It feels like they're a rogue class / ranger class. But it'll be super funny if the rogue ends up being the hero. Though I guess you could say Aladdin. Aladdin was a rogue in a sense. I do like this, so I'm going to copy this guy just to make sure we don't lose him. And then paste him over. So I'll just double click this guy, copy, slide him over. That way, if we do need him in the future, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go and fill this in. And that way we don't have that floof of here quite yet. I want to get in a good idea of what we're going for first and then modify it depending on that. So I'm thinking we can have this as the face. This is the cloak. This is the hood. Hopefully that's visible. This is the side of the face you can't see. So this is the side of the edgy tiefling ranger who's all too cool for school. I added edgy as an idea because I thought it could be a fun idea to do. So we'll do something like this. Maybe we move down the bow to put down here, something down here. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we can flip this horizontally, make it seem like they're holding it in the background. I do quite like that. They're holding it here. Maybe then we have a little bit of an arm here holding it. Maybe an arm. We'll see. I'll move this guy over here for now, and we can figure out the other areas. Now, remember, we want to make sure that their horns are visible. I'm gonna do probably, let's see. We know this is their face. We want to keep their face in shadow because they're so edgy. They're too cool for school. So we're gonna modify that one a little bit here. Add a little bit of this guy here. Now, do we want to do horns here and add a little curving horn bit to this area? We could do that, though I don't know how well that feels. I do like the idea of horns coming outwards for our ranger, something there and there. That could work out too, but I'm just not too sure about this angle right now. So again, I'll just copy this guy, slide it over since we have freedom. So let's see. Maybe we have this go up a little bit here, but I do like the way it goes downwards. It makes it feel like they're facing in this direction with their nose here. So maybe we keep it. We're just gonna need to add some way to show their horns. That's gonna be the tricky part. We need to get across the idea that, hey, this is a tiefling and this is a ranger. So I'm thinking let's add a bit of a scarf possibly around this area here, maybe a little bit of a scarf. And then we can add maybe this guy up a bit more. We need a bit of a body, so maybe we have this as a, what is it called, a little belt here. And then we have the rest of the chest, so maybe we can have the chest come here. Though it does make them look like a bard with their little hand here, like they're singing songs, something like that there. Then you have a little bard like this. That is quite cute, a little hand up. But we're not going for that. We're not going for that. This is tricky, but it's doable. Tricky, but doable. Okay. What are some positions that characters usually go? We see here, now I forget what game this is, but I do like the pose of this. We also see the bow downwards in some areas. I like the side profile of our ranger, so I definitely think we should keep that. It's just going to depend on other areas. So I'll copy you, paste you, you'll go up and over, and then we'll go here. Now, if we were to do the bow facing towards us a little bit, and this is, let me slide that over, that way the name is visible. Let's see about undoing this, redoing these, undoing that guy there. We have about 22 minutes. We're not halfway, but we're also not a third, so it's still good to go. We can do, possibly, something this here, something like that there to show off that it is a little bit of a scarf for edginess and hair flick. And maybe, actually, we make it look like fur pelt. I do like the idea of what you can see here, but I don't want to go one-to-one on that. I like the idea of the edgy scarf because it would give the feeling of it being that character, or what's the word I'm looking for? Edge. We're looking for edge. We're looking to make it look very edgy. So I'm thinking maybe we do this. This is their cloak. This is their body. And then we do our little legs here. So maybe we have one leg here and one leg come out here. Maybe another leg come out here. And the good news is as well that we just need to get something down. We can always refine it a little bit later, depending on what we want to go for. And do we want to give them heels? We could give them big legs and give them big heels. It just depends. The hope is that as we go along in the series, they'll get a little bit better. We can see about adding some dithering here and there. It'll just depend on how things feel and what they look like. But for now, I think that's fine. This is okay. Let's slide maybe the legs back here a little bit. Now I wonder, do we want to do a flip of here and here. Maybe, let's see, I'll copy this for now, paste that over there in case we need it. And let's see. Maybe we fill in that leg there. Maybe we add, let's see. They're a ranger, so they'll probably have boots instead of heels. So if we could give them boots, how could we do that? I'm thinking you would probably add a little bit down here, maybe a bit down there. But you would want to add lines, I'm thinking, for the boots to show off that, hey, look, we're boots. Maybe something like that and that to show the separation between legs and boots. That's not too bad. Little boot here, little leg there. And then this would be kind of your hips area. And then you'd have another little area there. And then maybe you'd have a foot kind of leaning to the side here. Make them look pretty edgy. Though I don't know how well that looks, truth be told. Maybe we lower that down. That's not too bad, but I feel like something's off. I think this could be more dynamic. It's something to do with the bottom of the legs here. And again, the good news is, because of what we have, or because we're copying and saving, we can just do this all day, truth be told, but we're on a timer, so we can't. So let's see. Maybe we can do something here and here. This can show off their body. That's their head. This is their torso, which means this here is more so their waist. So something here and here for the waist. And then maybe the waist can come back here and here. About there and there and there. Something like that. But then the legs just don't feel tall enough, truth be told. Maybe we can have the little legs here, little leg here, and then little foot here. No, you know what? I do like that. I like how tall it makes it feel. Maybe we can make it more angled, so maybe we can come up here a little bit more. Something like, let's see. This would need to be like a leg, I think, or something of the sort. We can go ahead and grab our two legs back here, and grab them, delete those guys. Paste these in, and yeah, do you see what I mean by it feels a little, something feels off, and undo that, paste that in here. We can go and remove you. Oh, hold on. Remove this guy here, as we don't need him. We just want these little legs, and we're gonna have to make these little legs a little bit shorter. And we might also have to remove the heels, a smidge, just a bit here. Something like that, maybe? Okay, I like this. It's the torso. Something about the torso is bugging me. So, let's try to remove these areas and then go back. I'm gonna copy this guy here, paste him here. Then we're gonna go for something along the lines of this, I'm thinking. Maybe we add the sash or the scarf a little bit more up here, more so. So give the scarf a little bit more wiggle room, which would allow us to have the ranger vest a little bit more. I see a vest here. I also see a few different outfits here, depending on the character. I see either kind of like a, well, not even dress, like a long overcoat. Or I'm seeing here puffy pants and then a belt. I definitely like the idea of a belt and then some, what is it called? The separation here you can kind of see. So maybe we can add that separation. So this would be a part of the cloak, or not the cloak, but the outfit. You would see a separated bit here, and we could erase it here, and maybe this guy can come in a little bit more, and then this guy can come a little bit more here, kind of off to the side, and then maybe that can come there and there. But then we'd still need to see the torso. So maybe this is our torso, visible torso, as we're seeing part of the, what would you call it? No, this would technically still be the torso, just the other edges of the torso. Something there and there. Maybe move this up a little bit, because underneath this is going to be our legs. So it's gonna depend. It's gonna certainly depend. I'm thinking maybe this here, and the good news is as well is that if blotting out isn't working for you, you can always try the tried and true method of outlining, or not outlining, but blobbing in the areas. So blobbing to blob, yes indeed. What I mean is, here we have the head. So we know this is the head. Then this would be the shoulder. Then this would be the body. And you can kind of already see why maybe I'm getting a little bit confused on proportions. If this is the shoulder, and this is the body, the torso, this area here, and then this is the what is it called? The hips, and then the legs, the proportions are already off. They're not going to be one-to-one proportions, which is fine. Just a matter of, if you're going for stylized, you need to know what you're doing. And in this case, I don't have too much of a clue what I'm doing. I'm thinking we can make our ranger have maybe a fluffy coat. Maybe we can make them have little fluffy bits here to show that they're holding on to the bow. And then we add the bow in here. So maybe we can do something like this. Move this guy up a bit. Make it more cone-shaped to make it look like an arm. So maybe we can do something about here and here and here. Cone shape, and have this arm extend outwards. Maybe more like that. Or actually, like that, I think, and have this guy come upwards a bit here. And then we're gonna need to show off the hand. And I definitely think this is a little off, but I do like this shape. So I'm gonna, oh, hold on. I'm going to copy it and slide you over because I do enjoy this. Let's try instead making you come backwards a little bit, and then maybe have this guy come backwards a smidge, have it come over, and then have the hand hold possibly this bit here, maybe? And then we can grab our bow. So I'll grab this guy. We have about 15 minutes left, so we are at the halfway time. I believe we have finished the archer bow idea. We're just missing the idea of, what would you call it? The idea of it being a tiefling. We still need to add that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the bow to another layer, grab our background color, and if I add it to another layer, and we add an outline for this guy, so if I hide this guy, what you'll be able to see is that there's a little outline here, and the hope is that when doing this, it's like I found it's handy to use because it covers whatever you can't see, and then you can add another layer, and depending on the separation of the character, I find it to be pretty handy. So in this case, maybe we have this here, and you'd erase this. You'd erase this part here, erase this part here, to show that, hey, they're holding on to a bow. That's what the hope of showing it like this would be. So maybe we can actually do this here, do that there, do this here, and then have an arm kind of come out here. You know what, that's not too bad, that's not too bad. Have an arm come out about here and here to show that there is another arm here, but I think erasing it, so maybe we can add an arm about here and here. Yeah, that's not too bad, truth be told. We'll select this guy, slide him upwards. So hold on, wrong layer, redo. We just want this layer here. Yeah, that layer. This can then maybe be the belt, and then we have this part here for a separation of the cloak. Maybe. We don't want to go too deep into detail. We learned last time what happens when we do that. We might be able to even add the fluffy bit back, but we first need to add those feet. That's what we really need to do. So we can have maybe a shoe here. We can erase that guy, maybe add like a shoe, possibly here. Maybe we'll hold on. Maybe we can do something there, though. I think what would be easiest to do is first to figure out where we want the legs to go. As we can do like the Huntress Wizard, where we add long, very long legs, and I really do like that style of Adventure Time, how the legs are just like little needles. She reminds me of a small mosquito. Just how slender she is. It's adorable. We'll go back over here. Oh, you know what we could try to add as well? We could try to add a quiver. So let's see. Maybe we add that there to show it's the boots of the character. Maybe we can add that in, though that does look a little off. So I'm thinking we don't do that. Maybe we slide, let's see, this guy over a little bit here. Slide, oh, hold on, that slid it up. We want you slid over. Well, then erase this guy here, slide you over to about here, and then slide you up a bit here to show that it's the legs. But I think this works a little bit better. The bow itself it's gonna look a little bit funny because we have lines separating them. Well, it's not too bad. Maybe then, do we want to add this bit here? I think maybe, you know what? Maybe we give do we want to add like an arm here, or do we want to add, maybe we add a little bow, or not a bow, but an arrow. A little quiver here to show that they definitely are an archer. Maybe we have them hold on to it here, and then we would, let's see, add that there, add that then here and here. And I'm hoping it makes it look like they're holding it, though. I'm not sure if it looks like they're holding it. It does kind of, in a way, look like they're holding it. Maybe if we do that there, then. Maybe if we add in, let's see, a line here, maybe. That's not too bad. It makes it look like they're holding an arrow. The question then is, how do we make it look more arrow, possibly? And I definitely think that might be what we have to do. Add a little bit of arrow there and there. It makes it look like an arrow, but I just wish we could... Oh, you know what it is? Arrows are usually like that. Yeah, like that. I think we go with that. We have 12 minutes left, still good to go. And we can definitely still clean up on our iterations. So we're still okay, we're still decent. We can add that guy there, add that guy in there. Now, I wonder if it makes it look like the body, or does it make it look like we need to add some other lines to it? I'm not too sure, but I do like this. So we'll go ahead and do something like that, I think there. Now, we're gonna need to add the tiefling portions. That was something we needed to do. So I'll go ahead and I'll copy our little edgy ranger here. We'll copy you, slide you down here, and we'll go ahead and continue. As this has been fun so far. It's tricky, but it's super fun. What I'm thinking is either we can go with the idea of big horns coming out of the top, so something here and here, to show that it is a tiefling. And I'm not too opposed to that idea. If, again, we use that technique of going with the black or the outline color, and then I do Control or Shift O, what you'll see is it already separates it because it outlines it. And then if we also grab our other layer, I'm going to duplicate this layer, hide it just in case we need it. And let's try cleaning this up just a smidge. So we'll go ahead, merge these guys down. And then let's see about making it look like there's a bit of horn action going on. So what I'm thinking is we kind of have this guy come down, curl up a little bit more to show that there is a bit of tiefling horn action going on. Something like that, I definitely think looks like a horn, but we're gonna need to make this a little bit modified. So I'm thinking, let's see, remove that line to give more feels to everything else. Remove that line there. We then add that line in there. I definitely think this line can get removed. This line here can definitely, I feel like, move to be more horned-ish. Something there. Ooh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. And then maybe if we do, let's see. That's not too bad all in all, but something feels off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this guy. I'm gonna add back our extra bit here of our hood, and that way I can copy him for our other layer, copy him, add this guy here, and I can hopefully, if I can do this correctly, copy you here, copy. We then enable this guy here, paste it here. This gives us the cloak area. That's what I really wanted. And I'm wondering, maybe if we just copy you, then do Control O, add the edges for this guy here, slide him back down to where he was. How does that feel on our hood? Not too good. So what I'm thinking is, we'll remove you, do a new layer, paste you down, slide you down a little bit about here, I'm thinking. And then we remove everything here. That's to say, this bit here, since this is part of the horn, we can go ahead and just remove this area about here and here to hopefully make it look like the horn's coming outwards. And then you would add it for the other area too. So we can hopefully merge this guy down, give us this, and now we just need to have the other horn coming upwards. So let's see. I'm thinking we don't have to add too much to the other horn because we already see one horn. So the other horn's not too important to worry about. I'm thinking maybe we just do, let's see, this guy here, have this horn kind of coming up and out. And then we do Shift O again. Oh, hold on. Shift O on the color we actually need. So this dark color here. And that can give us the horn look. We'll merge this guy down. We can see about possibly making it go, let's see, downwards a little bit more. So maybe something like that. That's not too bad. It definitely doesn't feel too much like a horn though. So maybe, let's see. We have about 8 minutes left. So not a lot of time, unfortunately. But we definitely still have time. Maybe we move this guy here and here. Have one horn come outwards like that. Have the other horn come up. Tricky. I definitely think adding more horn here is a good idea because it'll then show the viewer that there is a horn going on. Though I definitely think this horn's a bit too big. So maybe we add a bit of a horn there and there to show that there is a horn. I do like that. I think that's good. We have a little arm here, little arm holding this up. Now we're just going to need the tail. And I think then we'll have the gist of what our tiefling edgy archer is. So let's see. Let's add in a tail then. We hide this guy, show this guy, save this, new layer. Let's see about adding possibly a little tail about here. And tails are usually, or the tails I've seen of tiefling tend to be pointed. So we can either add a tail down here, or we could add a tail up here. This does make it look like a dog tail, doesn't it? Let's add a tail, I'm thinking. Maybe we do it here. No, actually, let's do it here. So erase you, put you there. And then we'll have the pointy tail bit. So maybe we do about a pointy tail here. And I do want it to look like an arrow. So we can add a little tail about here. Maybe wrap you around a little bit. Wrap you around and down a smidge about there and there. Something like that I think can work out. Maybe we can make the tail go upwards. Though you would think the tail would come from underneath here. So maybe we can add a tail from underneath there. Maybe something like this can work out in our favor to show a tail, but I think this would work out better. It's just a matter of figuring out the angles to work off of. I'm thinking maybe we do something there and there to show the tail. Maybe we can do it as a flat line here to show the tail afterwards. I do quite like that idea. Now, can we add a little bit more of I do like that. I do think that's good. That's quite nice there. Let's go ahead and merge this layer down. And I've come to the point where I don't think there's much more I can add. But I do like your little guy here. Let's try adding more details, I suppose, to the legs. I think that might be our best bet. So I'll go ahead and copy this, if it lets me. Copy this guy. Scroll out a little bit. We're going to paste him over here. Then we're going to save him. And then let's see. Let's look at adding. We have a little hand there. We have a little arm there. Let's see. Okay. Do we add a pixel there? No. Do we maybe remove a few of these pixels to make it look more like an arm? Possibly, though that doesn't look like much of an arm as the other ones did. I do like the way this looks here. It does make it feel like an arm in a way, though it does look a little bit off. Maybe if we do something like that there, that's quite good. But then how do we make it look like the tail? Then we could add more tail in here. That's not too bad. Maybe move the tail up a smidge here. Maybe then we could add a little bit of a floofy bit to our little, what would you even call it? I'm not too sure. We could do that there, that there. Hold on, that there. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Erase that guy there, you think? I do quite like that. Now let's see. Anything else we're missing? Oh, right, feet. I definitely do like this over our other one. Maybe we could even have this go downwards. Maybe then this guy can curl upwards a bit more, something there and there. I definitely like that a little bit more. It's just these feet I'm now a bit concerned about that I'm not too happy with, but we do have it, so might as well use it. So let's see. Save you here. And then we're gonna make it go, let's see. Okay, first off, can we make these a little bit smaller about here and here? I definitely think making it smaller makes it feel more like the horns going on. Maybe we can subtract you there and there. Maybe if we move you down a little bit here and here, move you here, move you here, move you up here a bit, down there, move you about there and there. I definitely think that helps. Maybe if we move you up there, move you up there, it can make it feel more like the tiefling feel we're going for. Move you up here, make it a little bit bigger for our horns. Definitely, I do like that. Now, our legs. That's going to be the tricky part. And I also wanted to see about adding a quiver, though I'm not too sure if the quiver is going to work out. And I just realized we don't really have our iteration sorting done, but you know what? It's okay. It's all right. We persist. Oh boy. So let's see. We do you here, save you here. And then let's go ahead and what do we want to do? We add a little hand here. Maybe we add a little bit more of a hand here, but I don't think that works out well. It doesn't feel like the hand's holding her. Maybe if we do something here and here and then, oh, hold on, add it here and then remove that there. Nope, you know what? I think our little hand that we had is already a-okay. We're just going to need to add the feet. So I'm gonna erase this now that we have the rest of it done. Let's see about maybe if we do one leg down here, have a 1 foot down here, one go down here, something there-ish. Maybe we can even have it come downward a bit more, something there. And then we can have it come here for the other foot. So maybe a little something like that can work out about there and there. That's not too bad. A foot there, and then have you angled about there and there. That's not too bad. And then have you come down a little bit here and here. Have you angled about here and there, just about there and there. Not too bad, not too bad. Let's see about maybe doing you there and there, and there and there and there. Yeah, that's not too bad, I'd say. Okay, good, lovely. Well, this is so tricky because it feels like everything's good to go now. I don't think nothing else needs to be modified, so we should be good to go, I think. Let's see. If I scroll out a little bit, can I tell the parts of the body? I can tell that that's the, what is it called? The scarf, we have the hood there, we have the body. Now, I wonder if we really need to add that bit to the body. Maybe if we just do this, or maybe even better, we do this here for the belt. No, I think having that is a pretty good spot. Okay, maybe we do that there, save it, good to go. I wonder maybe if we add a little bit of a sprite there instead, add that there. Now, adding a corner here versus no corner, adding no corner, I definitely think it's a choice. And I do quite like that there. Now, do we remove more of this edge here? Could, but I definitely think this makes it feel like an ear and then a nose and a little mouth here. And I wonder if we add a little dot there for a mouth. How does that feel? I don't quite like it, so well, we'll remove it. And I wonder, maybe we can add a little quiver here. Granted, we don't have enough time to really add too much of a quiver, but I'm curious to see if we could. And then maybe if we were to add more there, more there. Nope, definitely a quiver is not in the cards today. Okay, let's see. Anything else we can add in this minute? Okay, so we did the shoes. I definitely am happier with the shoes now. We'll go ahead and remove you there. Add the shoes here, maybe. Add a shoe there. Maybe make you a little bit bigger to add a little bit more there. I think that works out well. What if we were to remove the bit here and here for the bow? That makes it look like the legs in front of the bow instead of behind the bow. So you know what? I take it back. We do something like this instead. Maybe we can move this guy up a bit. Make it look like it's curving up a bit more. That's not a bad idea. Maybe have it curve up a bit more. No, I think this curve was better than what we originally had. So we're gonna remove that curve there. Maybe we can remove this curve here. I definitely think that makes it feel more like a bow. Definitely a good idea. We have our arrow, and I wonder if our arrow can maybe be slid over just by like one to make it separate a little bit more. Maybe if we add the bow here, and then we add the arm bit about here and here, we could do something like that. Or maybe we can make the arm come downwards a little bit. Something there, and then add there. About 15 seconds left. Let's see. I think, let's add maybe a bit here, add a little bit of arm here. Maybe remove you about there and there, hold on, there and there. I think this works out. Yeah, okay, time's up. I'll go ahead and remove that then. And time is up, though let's do that. Okay, time is up. I was removing and adding at the very end, but I'll oblige to an extent. I like the little edgy ranger. Or little edgy tiefling ranger. I am quite happy where he is. And, you know, I'd say he, but it could be a she too. Do let me know what you think we should call our edgy ranger bard. I was supposed to say bard. Edgy ranger tiefling. We need to make a backstory or some sort of name or something. Why are they so edgy? Do they come from a rich family and realize they want to be Robin Hood? Or maybe they want to protect the forest that their family has been just trying to destroy or deforest or something of the sort. I'd love to hear your background ideas. And I'd also love to see your own interpretations of that. You can feel free to tag me in either Twitter or even join the Discord. I'll leave those links in the description below. With that said, thank you for coming, thank you for joining, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye-bye.